Yo, time for a Super Baby 2 up-to-date combo guide. You can check out my last video for the basics, but some things have changed. I won't go over those combos as those are still his universal foundation, but I'll start with simple routes, make a note on universals, and then show his advanced stuff. However, in terms of optimals, Saturn and KJPixel have made some documents for him that will be in the description with character-specific examples. You can't have a baby guide without including these two baby combo goats who have optimized him fully. He has a lot, but we'll try to get right into it. So, a few notes for his basic simple combos midscreen. j.H or the third j.L hits them up, where you can continue the combo with jump, or j2h, and j2m gives a sliding knockdown, especially on shorter combos. j2l got buffed to give a better ground bounce, so it makes it easier to extend with assist. These result in solo combo extensions in the corner that we'll see later. But also note, you can do js into j.H extensions, especially on bigger bodies midscreen. We'll see that come into place for a few combos too. And his quarter circle forward specials help with loops and assist extensions because they bring them back to the ground. And for his grounded combo theory, you can down special holding that special and then hold up to super jump up to extend. And you can always do his quarter circle back light, which is the leg grab, into vanish JDR to get more damage, which is also helpful to manage side switches and stuff like that. Final note before going to his loops is to make sure that when you IAD to get a combo going for an overhead, you do JM or JL, not JH, since that will send them up. So that seems better to confirm into 5H right away. Just show you some examples here. But as a recap, you always want to get into these universal loops midscreen that were in my last video, where you can end with JS JDR for the same side solo ender, or this more damaging ender with an extra loop into 3S 214M for 6.1k here, although that doesn't work on Krillin, Frieza, or Gotenks. And remember to dash after the grab ender to get more meter, slightly more meter at the end here. Or you can do the 5H version by delaying your JLs for 5.8k. These are his OG universal midscreen combos, and you can check out my last video for his skill stuff and variations. I did want to show a different skilled version that wasn't in my last video with an instant air dash JM. This keeps you closer to make his dash 6S a lot easier to keep the loop going. So if you struggle with his regular optimal universal loops, this is something that I recommend to get more consistent because it is easier and does seem universal. And you can even do double IAD loops like this. These can be interesting to add off of different confirms if you want to get into a couple loops, but seem to do less damage than the j.LL, j236L version. And remember, create your own combos so you can break away from these loops whenever you want into your own combos or anything that's easier for you, so you decide that. I did want to cover 6H routes briefly, which are great to set up character specific stuff, so you can replace the 5LL in the loop with 5H into 6H and then tag instead, or just 5H after M dives. There's a lot of different ways to get into the 5H 6H honestly, but you want to make sure that your 6H is low to the ground so they don't pop out of it. And then on the tag you can do an air dash JH into JDR for universal ender in general after 6H, but usually you use 6H for character specific stuff. So like for Nappa, you can set up Cyberman into mix, you can still combo afterwards after planting him. Zamasu's flight combo extensions to get BOJ combo enders for huge damage on that, and there's a lot of other character specific enders out there. I'm just showing off different versions of that. Now it's time for optimals, where we can get into character specific territory. The universal ones I just showed are for everyone, and these characters on the bottom of this list here, but the characters on top here are able to get a lot more optimized, but a much harder 2S combo like so from medium starters. Thanks again to KJ for the document that we have a link for once again. Unskilled for medium starter, this results in a huge 6.8k mid screen. Here's from a 5LL starter for 5k and 3 bars. So you want to try to go into 5H from 2 hits even on overheads, and make sure you jump straight up then light, holding back light. Letting those JLs as fast as possible is the key to this combo. Then you must slightly time your 5L to when they're falling into it, because if it's too early they will be too high for the ender. The rest is all pressed as fast as possible. That's the two main big divisions if you want to just remember two different types, but it can be divided further into character specifics for the universal ones. I'll just showcase the skilled version of these. The unskilled is the same with 2 hits, and you can find their outputs by yourself, but they will be higher than the universal one mid-screen. So Gogeta Blue is in the universal section because the double 2S doesn't work on him, but he has a different version with j.LL jump j4LL into the rest, but only one 2S here, ending with 1S 2S, giving almost 4.8k when scaled. On smalls like GT, this route gives 4.9k 2.8 bars. I found that slightly delaying the last JL in the first set of aerial lights helps to make it more consistent, and the rest is like Gogeta Vegetas. These honestly get easier the more you practice. It feels easier than the double 2S one that we went over earlier. On just Android 18 however, you need to do jump straight up JM into the key blast, which is nice without having to do the JL holding back J4L thing, which some people may find easier, still giving almost 4.9k. The damage on these varies by the way, you may get a bit more or a bit less depending on your timings to land a few more key blast hits and depending on the character's sizes. Vegeta can actually get into double 2S combo by doing j.LH, jump up J4LL. Remember to slightly delay the 5L, but it's more flexible on Vegeta here. As you can see, he's much higher than typically allowed and it still works. These double 2S routes are harder but more optimal for 5k and 3 bars as you can see here. Z Broly is our final variation, super dashing into j.H and then double jump into all 3 of your lights and then doing the light dive into 3S 2S and then the 1S 2S ender for 5k and 3 bars. I think you get like 60 more damage on him with this than Vegeta's that we just covered. From a 5H, which is Baby's best starter and can be common from a frame trap or as a punish, you can usually get one more 2S out of this for higher outputs, ranging between 6.6 to 6.8k damage and 3¼ bars or more. Massive damage, but making the hard one even harder. Besides the extra 2S you can add for all of the combos, the rest of the combos are pretty much the same. So you can have your major 2 divisions, which is the same characters like so, being 2S 3 times this time, and you have more specific tier list division, which is almost all the same besides 2 differences with Majin Buu and Vegito and the Smalls. So the Smalls is divided into the same exact one we saw before, but with Krillin, Gotenks, Krillin, and Roshi. Same with Gogeta Blue, where you can't double 2S, but it has another one for GT in them that can actually add an extra 2S here for around 6.8k damage and the 3 bars. This time for Vegito and Majin Buu, you can get a JS combo like so for around 6.4k and 3 bars instead of just the universal one Midscreen, which is cool for them. Having that key blast variation looks kinda nice, not gonna lie. So besides that, it's pretty much the same combo format. Gogeta Blue only gets one 2S with a specific combo being the same as before. Android 18 with a specific combo, you can add one extra 2S after the dive. And Z Broly with his specific combo into light dive 3S to get 2 extra 2S after the dive for up to 6.9k, being easier than the first triple 2S routes. So yeah, 5H is Baby's best combo starter. Try to prioritize that when you're trying to get your punishes in. So I have a level 3 tip on most of these 2S loops. If you limit your hits, instead of doing the L dive ender, do dash JS land 3S into level 3 right away holding down. And this helps you to set up his Sideswitch level 3 hitting backwards to get his left right level 3 Oki Midscreen, which is between the IAD, JM, or the same side. This is always best in the corner since it's easier to melee with the same side, but it can be nice to know about trading damage for better Oki situations since he no longer has his true 50-50 Midscreen. This can be a bit inconsistent, but it easily generates solo 2 touches, and here's an easy close to corner combo example that I just kind of freestyled into. For down heavy, here's a simple 2H or DR confirm where you can end with grab or vanish to add on. An easy extension is just 3S super dash as you land jumping up, and then you can side switch here. And you can do the 2S super jump stuff, needing to end with a vanish or assist or something. So just showcasing that for easy practical combos, because I know a lot of y'all appreciate that. But I wanted to bring up my 2 optimals from my last video. I have a few more notes there, but off 2H you can get universal loops from the beginning of the video, but an extra loop with 3S delay 6S for 4.7k. And funny enough, it's actually less damage than the easier version that we showed off, but it does give more meter. Before we get into the character specific optimals, once again, if you do want max easy damage, we can optimize this easy one with a vanish extension for 5.9k here like so, revolving around 2 236M dives, and is very easily doable and practical online. 2H loops are easier than the Midscreen ones. So to optimize, KJ brings us with another chart. Oh boy, the universal one remains for the 3 big bodies, but on a lot of characters, which is going to be a pain for y'all to remember if you do want to optimize. You can do this first set of aerial lights into double jump lights again into 3 2S routes, continuing like we spoke about before for around 6.3k and 3.2 bars after the air dash with their medium grab, which is huge. On Cell, that version doesn't work. You have to do j.H after the jump cancel, but everything else is the same. That means you get less output though at 6.1k and 3 bars after the air dash after the grab. And it's really nice how Baby can always generate those 3 bars to, get into his level 3, or someone else's level 3 for that matter. Piccolo also has his own version as well, needing j.MH into j4LL and medium dive for around 6k and 3 bars. For Nappa, you need to go into it after a full set of aerial lights and back to light dive, however only getting 5.9k, so much less but still enough to level 3 afterwards. Teen Gohan's is very inconsistent. For some reason, needs a super dash J4LLM, double jump LML into the ki blast, light dive into the rest, but you need to input that sequence as fast as possible, ending with 1S for 6k and 3 bars. For this section with 16 Base Vegeta, Zamasu, Gogeta Red, Lab Coach, you do this sequence. I think I didn't get the hits perfectly, so you should be able to get more output than me here at 5.9k and almost 3 bars. On Beerus, Majin 21, and Kefla, we're trio but all slim I guess. You do medium into double jump, light into the dive, but you only get one 2S loop, so you make up for it with 1S, 2S, 6S, 214S, then dash 5LL loop instead, to be a very unique one at almost 5.9k, but barely doesn't make it to 3 bars. Baseku, UIku, and Roshi also follow a very similar circumstance, but the aerial sequence is different with medium heavy, double jump light medium into the rest with 1 2S, with similar output as before. The key to both of these is a micro dash 5LL. For Dragon Rush, since it's such a shorter combo, it may not be worth going for the 2S stuff. Here's a universal Midscreen one for 3.9k and 2.6 bars, delaying the j.LS, so one of the ki blasts away. And with a Vanish extension, it follows this universal route starting at 0 bars and still having a bar left over for 4.2 to 4.5k. On bigger characters, end with 3S into the grab. For more miscellaneous stuff, as you know, he has his 50-50 with 5LL delay L to grab or frame trap with very low blocks and assist, going into a simple confirm like so. But he can do it solo with 5LL holding forward for 6L. Not a 50-50 since it is slower, but is a solo grab where he can go into his universal loops or 2S super dash stuff. But it does get optimized once again with a chart with 7 variations here, so let's quickly go through them. For the j.H, j.M delay j.L row, you need to do this medium dive and then slightly hold back a little bit after 5S to make it consistent for 4.4k and 3 bars on the same side. But here's a side switch version by doing 1S 2S instead. On these characters, you need to do j.H, j.M, j4LL into medium dive, but only 1 2S, so it lowers the output to 4.2k and 2.7 bars, doing 1S 2S to extend. This slight delay aerial heavy into jump up, slight delay ki blast into medium dive is probably the most inconsistent combo here, especially with all the timings between every characters in the slot, so this combo may not be it. There are characters needing an aerial light into heavy jump straight up medium ki blast M dive into 2S for around 4.4k, less than 3 bars even with the dash, but man, these combos are much harder. Some characters need a j.L, j.H jump forward j.L into the ki blast, only 1 2S, and these 1 2S combos are much more consistent and easier but less damage overall at around 4k. Now Kefla can also go down this route, but she's the only one in this list that can get a double 2S link to go into the rest, resulting in 4.3k but much harder. And finally for Z Broly, because he's a giant, do super dash delay triple aerial lights for height into light dive into 3S and continue it, showing a side switch example here as well. A few extra notes mid-screen. With super dash with EX dive, you can extend with a 2S super jump thing, so holding S and up for really good damage honestly. And from the EX dive confirms, this is where the IAD setups are really helpful for more consistent ways to get into your universal loops for 3.8k or potentially the character specific 2S loops, but nobody got time for all that. Baby has a ton of stray confirms, like after his 214S adding a 5H here, but it's up to you to use this combo theory to make your own routes and optimize more stray hits, getting into loops from vanishes and pretty much any hit. Here's me kinda freestyling. And maybe we can have another video for combos with summons. Those are just flashy and not really needed since his solo output is insane, but it can be used. I did have a few tips for universal loops getting close to the corner. You want to use his M dive most of the time, and then you no longer need to micro dash, doing 1S if you want to continue the loops, or just with ki blast or dives, whichever you choose, ending with a dash JS JDR, which lets you go into his grounded level 3 super, or 2S or 3S into medium grab. And he also has a new corner ender that we'll see soon. Scales follows the same logic of keeping it to 2 to 3 grounded 6S extensions before ending the combo. A more optimized close to corner extension is with beam jumping up after the beam is done and then delaying the key blast after J2H to result in 6.2k when close to the corner, and you have that spatial awareness of that. Now it's time for the Kona. I'll start off with some easy combos and then we can get into the more optimal specifics once again. So his corner loops can be 6S, 214S, anything repeat. But now on all of his corner loops he has a way better ender with 214S J2L downlight into 5L that you can mash out, 2S or 3S into the quarter circle back M for the medium grab for more output. You can add that to any of his old loops, basically holding down and mashing the light button. And you can also do J2L into a jump dragon rush for about 300 less damage for all of his corner combos, but you stay in the corner. Here's his universal optimized version from my last video with this new ender, resulting in like 50 more damage here and meter than before. This is on the easy side, honestly, very consistent. Just make sure to delay that last J2ish before the loops, and the land for 1S timing can be probably the trickiest part, but very practical online. Here's the skilled version where you can go into that ender for 5k and 2.7 bars with the air dash after the medium grab, or choose to do the air dash JDS JDR to remain in the corner for 4.6k and 2.5 bars. A tip to steal the corner on whatever corner route you want to set up his level 3 mix. On an early 6S to 14S, do air dash JS, then land into 3S and then go into your level 3 right away holding down. And here you get the right left mix. From the same side option, you can do the routes that we just showed mid-screen, trying to get into 5H with 2 or less hits, or something much simpler since you don't need to do a lot to secure the 2-touch solo. And from the cross-up, just go into 2 loops where you can do the new ender to optimize an easy cross-up confirm for 4.5k. Again, easy 2 touches. So you can get loops anytime off any hits, any starter like I'm showing here, but he does have some new combos. He can actually now loop his aerial down light dive kick sequence for like 4 or 5 times solo without any key blast. And an alternate ender is J2L into grounded DR and M grab, losing slight knockdown but can super afterwards too. Although doing the 5L2S M grab is the most damaging and optimal one. And I want to show off this simple mini vanish extension part, which does lead to an easy TOD. For these J2L loops to work, you have to make sure your j.H is done very early as you can as you jump up, or if you mess up there you can delay the J2L to get into your loops, but we have a better optimal combos on the way. He also has his aerial key blast based Vegeta type juggles on Bigs now. Nothing optimal, just wanted to showcase this, but it's pretty cool and interesting. You could probably get more, especially on bigger bodies. We'll see another similar one for 2H, so I'll go more in depth when that happens. And the last extra showcase note before the optimal charge is you can actually side switch 2M, 5M, 3S, which can be really cool for some sauce I suppose on mids to bigs, but maybe possible on smalls, may seem too tight, into any ender that you want. Alright, time for optimal. We'll start with his medium starters. There are 2 big categories with 4 more character specific ones. The first one is Reverie's triple beam loop for around 7.6k and 3 bars after the air dash on a medium starter. You need to do 1 medium into 5H right away, so not hit confirm friendly, and you need to slightly delay that first beam then J2H. If you delay too much, the ender drops, and waits to land after your beams to 2S, but overall this combo is way easier than the mid-screen one. On Majin Buu, both Broly's, Nappa, and Yamcha for some reason, instead of jumping up forward after J2L 5L, you have to jump straight up, so 8 into JM, because that places you further back for 1S to connect on these characters how it's supposed to. The Alex 2S loop is harder as it requires a walk forward 5L 5H slight delay on the key blast, slight delay 1S into the backdash bits, and you need to walk back on some characters for 1S at the end so it doesn't hit the opponent. Basically all the tall ones require a micro walk back in the middle of the combo. I'm not really sure why KJ has this list here. It says you need to do the light ender instead of the J2L one on these characters, but as you can see the J2L ender does work on Frieza. Although Frieza is an example of someone that I do need to micro walk back on, and I do that by holding back after S and I still mash a light input. The slight walk back just comes out as you mash L basically. On Cooler in specific, you can get up to 7.6k and over 3.3 bars in a similar fashion, but needing the delayed beam J2L route into 5L, 5H into the Alex 2S loops, and he needs a slight walk back also. On Beerus in specific in the corner, you go back to no delays but going to a different dash up aerial sequence with 5L j.MH double jump light into medium dive and a 2S extension. Getting slightly less output on him though at 7.3k, still 3 bars but being a very easy and practical combo. For skilled version, it's more optimal doing Reverie's 2S loop similar to Cooler's instead of the triple beam, which works on more characters anyway, so that's nice. Can be annoying to memorize different lists, but you can do this one with just the unskilled starter also, or the universal one but skilled. But on these you're allowed 2 hits before the 5H, so a bit more hit confirm friendly, but Baby does more damage with 1 hit into 5H. Again, needing to walk back on mid to bigs, just holding back after 5S then pressing 5L, giving up to 5.6k and almost 3.5 bars. Broly can follow this route except he can only get 1 and 2S to go, leading to less damage, but that's just because he's so big so he can't get that double 2S extension. Every character you can do the double one on can do the single one if you struggle with that though. On GT Goku and Teen Gohan, you use the easier Alex route without the J2L, but with dash up 5L 5H 5S, delay 1S and walk back. But with Tohan you have to use a late dive ender instead of J2L, still giving you around 5.5k and over 3.2 bars. You want to use Reverie's triple beam route on Cell hit Gogeta 4 and Lab Coach for 5.5k, but losing out on meter at 2.9 bars, so no guaranteed level 3. Make sure you delay the first beam and delay on that land at 2S. Can feel very tricky at first. Finally on Beerus, and his version is with 5L jumping up j.LH, double jump j.L into the medium dive, and going into the rest. At least his version is easier honestly and builds him 3 bars most of the time. Finally, from a 5H starter, they follow the similar rules but gave him his most outputs. There's this chart with more variations to be optimal, but I will only showcase this chart with less variations. And the 5H routes do follow different routings because you're allowed more hits and there's only 4 variations to quickly cover. The Reverie 2S route changes like so on 5H for around a huge 7.9k 3.3 bars, requiring a slight walk forward. I don't expect you guys to memorize all these again, but it is good to know and come back to these sections once you've mastered the rest to finally optimize your 5H hits to get his max meterless damage, which is basically a solo TOD. It is very tight besides the beam delay and the first one as delay, the rest need to be done ASAP as fast as possible. On Android 18 and GT, go for this route where you do the super dash into slight delay J2H, and the rest is the same. That J2H part does feel weird though, and you end up with similar outputs. The K-Dar quad beam route works on Cell, Hit, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Lab Coat, where you need to jump straight up into J2H, beam, Ki Blast, beam again. No micro walk, so it's pretty easy to secure that 7.8k. With Beerus, to optimize his route from 5H, you can do dash 5L super jump, JM, J2H into the rest. The super jump is key and you can still do the new J2L ender but less damage at 7.6k. So for 2H using the Ki Blast extensions with delayed j.Ls, you have a simple corner loops after the M dive, getting like 3 of those into the new ender. I use the J down light ender, but remember you can do the JDR ender or go into the Sideswitch level 3 set up earlier in the combo. Here's the optimal universal way, delaying the J2H is key here so you can actually get the right heights on everyone, resulting in 6.2k and 2.7 bars. You want to stick to his loops, but for a few new corner 2H ones, I want to re-exploit the Baby Vegeta loop. So delaying the j.L.S slightly to juggle with Ki Blast. Works on smalls but easier on bigs where you can get the side switches, and with very slight delays you can keep going almost indefinitely. It's not long delays like Baby Vegeta, just short brief ones so you can freestyle into your own sauce from this. Similarly, you can get JS J214 as loops by delaying the quarter circle back special at different timings to keep it going. So you can structure cool looking combos like these. Not optimal, just for some nice sauce. For optimals though, we do got a chart with 5 variations. Reverie's 2S loop from a down heavy I found to be insanely inconsistent, so I highly do not recommend this unless there's like a secret tip to this. But it seems like delaying the first JM and then jump up JL does help to make the land 5L link, but then that turns the ender very inconsistent because of the earlier delays, especially on small, so I don't know, it doesn't seem worth. Instead of that one, you can shorten it a lot into something like this with the characters that the Reverie route does work on in this chart, where the delay jam is way more lenient and flexible, having to micro walk back also, so you sacrifice output at 6.8k, but this combo is way more practical than the full optimized version with a beam into jump. I do recommend learning Saturn's double beam route on Cell, Hit, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Lab Coat, and Teen Gohan, but using a light dive ender on Teen Gohan, since it is a lot more consistent and practical, needing just a slight delay on the jam time after the super dash, and everything else is done as fast as possible for 7.1k. The Beerus one is also good to know, super jumping up forward JM, but because of the heights, I feel like you need to delay the first 2S. Off a Dragon Rush in the corner, you follow the same concept with the simple and fun ideas, just that you can't do the JDR enders with JS or with J2O. So here's how his universal loop looks like. And there is one more character specific route using the Reverie 2S loop, but shortening it with a 6S instead of 1S for 4.9k and 3¼ bars. This one is actually a lot more consistent than the 2H version by just slightly delaying the J2L. If you land his auto combo grab mix in the corner, the Universal Optimal can look something like so. The air dash part can be a bit tricky, but it is pretty sick. You can also go into Reverie's 2S route again on those same characters for 500 more damage than the Optimal Universal and more than 3 bars. Make sure you delay the first beam and delay the J2H. For the triple beam fellas, you actually need to flow backwards on 5LL 6L starter, so holding up and away, holding 7 after the last beam in order to make that 2S hit in perfect range to keep the loops going. And at last, that is it for your charts. For a few sparky notes before TODs, you can get easy access to loops with dive into 214S special cancel right away, and you can break these spark combos to go into your regular baby loops however you want for better combos. And you can also special cancel into his down assist steal stuff as well, which can be interesting when making your own combos, especially the down heavy. I feel like every character C assist is easy for an add-on for half a bar if you want a sauce on them, I guess. Now it's time for TODs, and as you saw from his output, all of his optimals pretty much end up as TODs if you have the meter, or add-on assist at the end with DHCs and stuff like that, or if you're solo with the bar, honestly. So I won't repeat his optimal routes besides this first mid-screen example that TODs in limit break by himself without spark or without assist. Just a tip for TODs though, make sure to optimize Baby's 2H and 5H punishes with your team to TOD with loops as well from anywhere on screen. So I will leave that up to y'all with your team and synergy and DHCs and stuff like that, especially since this video can serve as a great outline for you to follow his combo theories. But I will give a few extra TODs with spark as well. So an example of a team TOD is how you can even TOD round start with 214S at the start of a match depending on your team composition. Here is showing some assist extension ideas. Sometimes you can combo end with a light dive plus assist and a DR as well, but here I show off how you can get some 6H into team synergistic stuff, getting huge damage with Zamasu as you know of their synergistic properties with the Blades of Judgment. For some more solo ones, here's a non-spark interesting elevator type beat into quadruple 2S, getting into 3S 2S 2S delay 2S into the rest here that I found by Nidan. Just found this combo really super cool. Here's another way to get into his 2S loops, which is very spacing dependent, so I don't like this route for practical reasons, but I did want to show how you can spark cancel into a J2L Whiff, so that way you can land earlier in order to set up your down key blast loops. And I also wanted to note for the new ender, when you're in spark, you cannot mash J2L. If you're in spark, it will cancel the 214S and J2L will come out earlier, so you need to manually time and press it after you see the returning key blast come and it hits your opponent, and then you go into your regular routing. Here I added the vanish to get into his monkey super to land, because that's always cool to TOD with. And the last TOD I have for y'all is to showcase two things as well: the spark whiff to set up your own TODs for later, since spark whiffing is always optimal to help with the scaling of the combo. And he also has his quarter circle back special into beam loop. You basically cancel 214S very early with 236S beam, then going back into it, and it kind of preserves the scaling on the beams and layers, so you get huge damage from those. Still killing with a powered up monkey level 3 super with his teammates gone solo. This super is movie. Thank y'all for watching, man. Hope you enjoyed. Leave your thoughts down below, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.